Falcons. As you may know, this month is our Black History Month.
And in this video, we will be doing interviews with some parents and teachers of color to see and learn more about their intake on this month.
First, we'll be talking about some information and facts about Black History Month.
Every February, the U.S. honors the contributions and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape the nation. Black History Month celebrates the rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are an indelible part of our country's history.
Black History Month originates from the work of historians and authors Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1915, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History.
The theme for this year is resistance. The African American population has a long and strong history of resistance against injustices they face. From the fight for freedom, education, or ability to vote, African Americans have shown exceptional resilience, strength, and courage throughout our history. This month is not only to acknowledge the historical Black figures, but everyday heroes as well. It is important to recognize the people who have not only fought for our rights, but also have represented us and showcased our power and pride.
Next, we'll be showing some interviews from our Foss community, including teachers and parents. These questions will be about the year's theme for resistance and how they view this topic.
What does Black History Month mean to you?
So Black History Month for me means celebrating Black history, Black joy, Black pride. So a big part of it is looking into the past and definitely recognizing where we've been and how we've got to where we are. But it also it's also about looking into the future as well, and the present, and seeing what changes can we make to make this a more just society, but also like even in the setting that we're in, like what changes can I make as a teacher to recognize Black history, to recognize Black joy, and to recognize Black pride in my classroom.
Good answer. How would you describe resistance?
I would describe resistance as actively working to undo some of the racist policies, some of the racist practices that were really part of the founding of this nation, and that we still feel today. You know, like I tell students all the time, a lot of institutions were not built for Black and brown folks, women, folks who didn't fit outside that white dominant male cisgendered, identity. And so resistance for me is like pointing that out and helping students understand their context and that we can do something to change it, right? So like in the classroom, we do a lot of projects, especially in my 9th grade bio around bringing in other voices. So like looking at Henrietta Lacks for my 9th graders, shout out to any of my 9th and 10th graders that Langton and I had, or looking at COVID and seeing how is access to the vaccine different for different communities, right? And so understanding the injustices of that systems or of our systems and then working to undo them is really resistance, right? So even in my classroom, when we talk about folks like Henrietta Lacks, or we talk about access to the COVID vaccine and how identity plays into that, those are acts of resistance, especially when we talk about some of those root causes behind why folks are treated unfairly or unjustly.
Next question is, what do you hope to see more happen in our community as a person of color?
As a person of color, I'd just like to see us moving towards a more just society or equitable society. And that means that I feel as a community, we gotta be willing to have the hard conversations, right? Mm-hmm. We gotta be able to acknowledge things like, why is it that Black and brown folks are more targeted by police officers and police violence? Or, why is it in our schools we have disproportionate discipline, meaning that some kids who have some identities are disciplined differently or to a higher rate or lower rate? And what can we do to start changing that, right? Mm-hmm. And so really talking about those injustices, but then moving towards doing something about it. And then finally, representation matters. I really believe that as a teacher of color, that, Black and brown folks, we need to have representation. We need a seat at the table when decisions are being made that affect our lives and that affect our community. So my hope is that all of you as students will help make that change by taking those seats at the table.
That was good. Where do you still see racism in our society?
Yeah, I still see racism whenever I look at how, for example, being a science teacher, I'm always interested about, what are the numbers? What do they say? How has the data been collected? But, we continue to see this difference in terms of how Black and brown folks are treated, not only as individuals by other individuals, but as I keep going back to it, by institutions as well, right? So I still see racism in the outcomes that we see, right? I talk to my students about, if as a woman of color, your chances of having complications during childbirth are much higher because A, doctors may not listen to you. There might be biases there. B, there's access to healthcare. But, even if you were to take access to healthcare, the chances of those complications are still different from someone who's white, and that's because identity and people not recognizing that we have biases, and not addressing those biases is still an issue, right?
Hi guys, welcome back, and we have today with us Coach Lee. What is her job here? Athletic director. She makes a lot of things happen. Okay, we're on to our interview. First question: what does Black History Month mean to you?
So Black History means it's more than a month, right? Black history is history. It's U.S. history. So it's 365 days a year. We need to celebrate our culture and our people every day, all day.
Okay. Second question: how would you describe resistance?
Resistance means not wanting to do something that you're forced to do.
Okay. What does resistance mean to you as a person of color?
That's tough. We've seen all the videos of, our Black people resisting arrest and stuff, but that's because they feel that they shouldn't have to justify what they're doing. So, it makes me sad. Because if I get pulled over, if my son gets pulled over, he should be able to understand why he's getting pulled over without being told to get out the car.
Right. Okay. What do you hope to see more of in our community as a person of color?
I want us to come together more. I want us to have more things where we're celebrating our culture, not just February. We have a lot to be proud of as a people, as a culture, and I think that gets overlooked. I would just like that to happen more.
And our last and final question: where do you still see racism today?
Everywhere. It's in the schools, it's in the community, it's in sports. It is really in the everyday lives of, teenagers, adults, kids, and we gotta fix that, but it starts with us.
Right.
So we got a lot of work to do.
Thank you. Give a thanks to Coach Reed and bye.
What's up, Foss Falcons? How y'all doing? My name is Dave Jones, and for those of y'all who don't know me, I'm there all the time doing Breakfast Club. But if you don't know me, I'm a former assistant principal at Foss High School. That was my last role in the education industry before I left to go into real estate. I'm always going to be part of the Foss family just because that's just, that's how we roll. So anyway, I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about Black History Month and my thoughts on that. And I just wanted to first preface all of this, or what I'm saying is like, my thoughts don't echo every black person's thoughts. Like, we all have different thoughts about our blackness and different experiences about our blackness. So the first question I want to address is, what does Black History Month mean to me? And Black History Month to me, I've had a different relationship with Black History Month over the course of my life. The reason being is because Black history is American history. And so I want to acknowledge and make sure that, we understand that Black History Month is important. That's 100% for sure. But I also want to make sure that we're celebrating Black history all 12 months, just because Black history is American history. There is no America without Black folks and our contributions to this country. And so we should just include that in American history in general. If you're someone that maybe hasn't looked into, too extensive into Black history, I think, I'm still learning new things all the time on Black history. So, I think it's a time that we can really dive deep into our understanding of Black history and where we stand in American history and our contributions to American history. How would I describe resistance? That's a tough one. I guess by definition, resistance is like going against something, or maybe resisting to, like not doing something, I would guess. I don't have a dictionary in front of me. This is all just me off the top of my head. So how would I describe resistance? I guess if it's in context with Black history and Black people in general in America, I think the resistance is resistance to racism, resistance to oppression, resistance to not being treated fairly or equally. I think also Black people in America have fought for democracy. We are the true people fighting for democracy within the confines of our country, within the framework of the United States. We have been fighting for democracy since we touched down. So, resistance is resistance to, oppression, basically, is what I'm seeing it, if asked within context of Black History Month. What does resistance look like to me as a Black person? Resistance can be in all different types of forms. To me, resistance can be in the form of education, educating yourself on what you are even resisting. Resistance can be in the form of proactive protest, and that can look different. Protest can look different for everybody. It's not just one thing. Resistance as a Black person could be, resistance of thought, resistance of physical space, resistance of policy, resistance of all kinds of different things. So, I think resistance can take on a bunch of different forms, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What do I hope to see more happen in our community as a Black person? Well, since I'm in real estate, I want to see more Black home ownership. I want to see more Black folks enlightened in terms of home ownership, because home ownership is how most people accumulate wealth. Most middle class families accumulate their wealth that way and create generational wealth by just simply owning the home and paying it down, and then that home appreciates in value. And Black people largely have been kept out of the housing market. Through redlining and through other oppressive practices within the real estate industry, Black folks haven't been able to buy homes for a long period of time, like not even able to buy a home. And then you have hurdles of credit and getting a loan and then getting a job. We're at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of median household income. We're at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of home ownership. We're at the bottom but when you don't allow these things to happen, that's where I have issue. I think everyone should be proud of their heritage, but when it comes at the expense of another ethnicity or race, that's when I have serious issue. What I would like to see more happen in our community is a push for more home ownership, which is what we work on every day. I think what's happening in our community, honestly, I think we have a really good community in terms of what's happening with the Black population in terms of leadership. So that's where it starts first, is seeing people in leadership. And I think this is a long-term play and a long-term thing to see the changes that we really do want to see. But I think that, between housing, getting more Black people in housing, and then leadership, and then that filters down to hopefully schools, So if they were to ask me what I want to see, what I hope to see happen in our community as a black person, which is, increasing housing for black people, black leaders, more black leaders in schools, in politics, in all those other places, in business ownership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. I want to see that as a graduation requirement. That goes along with the housing piece. And then I would like to see lastly, I'd like to see that filters down to the schools and community involvement in our schools. And that just means regular old person, just like how I come to Foss every Friday. I think that's so vital. So anyway, where do I still see racism in America? I think we have a ways to go. I think we've definitely made progress. I don't want to speak on how much progress, because we're still pretty close to slavery. We're still, 400 years versus, like if you were to look at it on a chart, we're not that far away. We're 1 to 2 generations away from slavery. So I don't think we've even made close to the progress that we need to make. But we're working on it, and I think it's a work in progress. I know it's going to take time, but at the same time, it doesn't have to take time. That's the catch. It doesn't have to take time. However, we have a lot of resistance, and we still have a lot of people who believe that black folks are less than or not equal than or equal to, and we have to make sure that we're fighting that at every turn. And it's not fun. It's not like I want to live my life just like a normal person as well, but I feel like I can't just live life knowing that we have oppressive practices still happening. We have inequitable outcomes in housing and policing and education and healthcare and school. Just all of it. And so those disparities we need to address and address head on. But before we address disparities, we have to address implicit biases within ourselves. And everybody has responsibility to that. I would like to also see us address, really atone and reconcile with our past, our history. And that requires us to actually get real about teaching history, the real history that's happened in America. So I shouldn't be learning things at 44 years old, new things, and so that's where I think we've wiped a lot under the rug, and I think we need to really truly atone for slavery and for the oppressive practices that we've had on black folks across the board. And that means like wide sweeping educational changes. That means all kinds of things. And we have so much pushback and PR and changing of terms to make them mean something that they're not. And, it's the same stuff that happens over and over again. So I'm kind of sick of it, to be honest with you. And so, sorry, I'm just going to be honest and real. So in terms of Black History Month, Black history is American history. I love the opportunity to speak and think about it. Even I need that too. So hopefully that helps. And I appreciate y'all having me on. My name is Dave Jones. Once again, I'm there every Friday for Breakfast Club. Tap in, and we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you guys for watching.
We hope you learned something new about our black community.
And we hope that you guys know that this is a 1 month thing, but it shouldn't be a 1 month thing. We should be supporting Black lives every single day,
right,
and taking pride in our students and our families and people of color.
We love our black community at Foss, and we will try our best to strive to get through greatness. Thank you for watching.